the headline here is Quebec judge, it's Canadian news, Quebec judge authorizes class action lawsuit against addictive Fortnite video game. So this is a Superior Court judge that has, in Canada, that has authorized a lawsuit brought by Quebec parents who allege their children became addicted to Fortnite. This was issued on Wednesday last week after hearing arguments from 3 parents who described how their children had symptoms of severe dependence after playing the game. And so now they're being allowed to essentially go ahead with this class action lawsuit. The ruling said specifically it does not appear frivolous or manifestly ill-founded. And what they're comparing this to is a class action lawsuit that was brought against the tobacco industry in Quebec, which alleged that it was addictive as well without any proper warning. So I'm curious what you guys think. There are some numbers in this article which are interesting. It says one of the parents said their son had played almost 7,000 games and got angry when his parents tried to limit his game time, including putting a lock on his computer. But I'm curious what you guys think here. Will we see a level of like class action lawsuit and settlement like we saw against the tobacco industry? Will as a result of this Canadian lawsuit see, warning labels about addictiveness of video games on, splash screens or things like this? I don't know. What do you guys make of this? Is it just totally frivolous?
Well, I think the article said it wasn't frivolous, right? So I'm leaning towards
the ruling. Doesn't mean you need to agree with this judge.
But the judge has a lot of power, right? He's setting a precedent here, and they're raising an issue. Well, I have a lot of feelings about this. One, terrible parenting, probably the first culprit, and pointing the blame elsewhere. 2, this is why everyone hates lawyers, right? Trying to make an issue out of something that might not be one, especially in Canada, where the studies we've seen and we've shared on the show suggest that gaming helps students, right? That gaming with proper restraint, with proper moderation and tools can encourage confidence in schools, that helps kids get out of their shell. And there's a rise in GPAs. I mean, there's a ton of research here that I'm hoping are presented in this case. The scary thing is that you put this issue in front of a judge who might be one of those old heads that's kind of closed-minded, and you're going to get something unfavorable to the gaming community that might not necessarily be what we're seeing boots on the ground day to day, all the positive stories that gaming's bringing up with, everything from FDA approved games to treat ADHD to, like I mentioned, the other significant social impact and benefits of gaming, again, with proper moderation, with proper implementation. So yeah, I'm concerned when you have this much power or, in someone that might not get it. And I've definitely, been on the trying to explain end of the spectrum there more times than I can count since entering the gaming industry. I just think this is an issue of bad parenting gone way too far down the wrong pathway.
If you're at Epic, Jimmy, if you're the legal counsel at Epic, right, are you worried that if this plays out in the favor of these parents in Quebec, right, that you could end up with a lawsuit 10 times or 100 times the size in the US, where you have, ambulance chaser style law firms
that
a
huge concern. And that's why if you're Epic, you can't settle. Honestly, I would take this all the way. I get the risk, Paul, but the greater risk is how many shakedowns are going to happen if we settle out of court. There's just going to lead more lawsuits with more people claiming one thing or another about the game. It's not just going to be Epic next. It's going to be Activision. It's going to be any game developer that has a hit title, right? So I think you need to set a precedent. You need to take it all the way, and you need to win. I get the risk of, the risk is everything, honestly, because like you said, are there going to be warning labels? I mean, there's already those parental advisory based off of certain genre types, right? I mean, how is that not enough? Maybe because Fortnite's geared towards maybe that's the difference maker. I'm not really keen on that element of the law in terms of restricting or, the sale of a game to a certain age demographic, the way we do with movies, right? With R-rated movies. I know that exists for gaming. But I think the greater risk is settling and putting a target on your back that you're easy money. I think you need to prove that this game's not addictive and get that dismissed through, like I said, all the studies that we do have and that we have seen showing the positive effects of gaming. It's just going to be, one of those lawyer driven schemes to get rich. Class actions only benefit lawyers. I don't really see this benefiting the families. These are just angry parents.
Matt says, addictive gaming lawsuits is Canada trying to follow in China's footsteps. That's a good point. Canada does try to follow in China's footsteps in many ways, actually. Quite a bit of accuracy in that comment. Christian says, even if they win the lawsuit, will the kids still be addicted? A lot of finger pointing from the parents here instead of pointing it at themselves. Yeah, I think that was Jimmy's sort of first comment of where are the parents in all this. Lindsay, Jeff, any thoughts on this before we move to the last lawsuit, call it, in this trio?
No, I think from my end, I'd be curious Lindsay's thoughts. I mean, I think Jimmy summed up kind of the legal context and, the moral context. And also, I think your point about the judge, potentially not having all of the context that maybe we do. And I think if you aren't in this community, you might see the argument, like the parallel between tobacco and video games, a lot more than, if you have all the right information.